Chapter 25. This too shall pass.
Do what you have to do.
Raylan's answer infuriates Cyphron, who expected delicious playing time with a tormented soul. Irritated, she stores the syringe set with the poison in her coat and sets up the rest of the equipment. She places the TV screen with the camera opposite the ECOS banner in the large box. Raylan lies motionless on his side. Out of curiosity, he gazes at the box with the charge, wondering what explosive substance they have chosen. With tied hands, he gets upright and rests his back against the cave wall.
ONC?
Raylan asks expertly, referring to the explosive substance in the charge. Cyphron looks up irritated at first, but then answers,
Yeah, had to be. These rocks are pretty sturdy.
She grins at Raylan, connecting the TV to a transceiver. She continues casually,
Really expensive stuff. And yet, the Dushama Eco section still made a profit.
She sneers at Raylan and says,
It's nice to have little rats to do your bidding, isn't it?
Raylan sighs resignedly.
You're crazy if you think you'll get away with this.
I'm crazy? You're the crazy one, Ray.
Cyphron laughs and kneels to check the electronic detonator.
Your last 3 years were but a fantasy, boy,
She says.
carefully choreographed by...
The yellow light strips at the cave walls flicker shortly. Cyphron's arm clip vibrates. Frowning, she looks at it, but nothing happens.
Damn glitches. No wonder the AI can't recognize me.
Cyphron mumbles. She connects small cables from the detonator to the ONC explosive cartridges. Placing the detonator unit on top of the blocks, she nods satisfied.
Primed and ready to go.
Cyphron exclaims proudly. She checks the time on her arm clip, and after a while sets the detonation time to 1:00.
Don't worry. I'll stop the timer after you're dead.
She grins maliciously. Checking her arm clip, she claps her hands and tells Raylan busily.
Now let's get you fixed up.
She reaches into her coat for the syringe set and draws the venom from the small vial. Her arm clip vibrates. Cyphron checks the display, but there is no incoming call. The arm clip vibrates again at random. Annoyed, Cyphron shakes her arm as if to shock the arm clip into working properly, but the vibrations continue unabated.
Come on, not now.
She moans, holding the poisonous syringe away from her body. Still, the arm clip trembles relentlessly at her arm. Crying out in frustration, she carefully places the syringe on the floor and deactivates the arm clip, flinging it to the ground in disgust.
Worthless piece of shit.
She quietly hisses at the arm clip. Feeling slightly uncomfortable without it, she clasps her wrist and frowns at the unexpected snag in her plans. She would have to log into another arm clip to detonate the bomb. Not really a problem.
Now where were we? Ah, the venom.
She recalls and kneels down. Grabbing Raylan's arm, she looks at him.
So, any last brilliant words for posterity?
She asks.
No? Didn't think so either.
She answers her own question as she rams the needle into Raylan's veins. Cyphron pushes the plunger and the brownish liquid disappears into Raylan's bloodstream. Heat rushes through Raylan's arm and shoulder, rapidly spreading into his head and body. Gasping for air, he breathes desperately with a wide-open mouth. After a moment, a muscle soreness follows. He begins to feel numb. His heartbeat pulses through his ears, but he cannot feel his heart pump.
Quite a rush, eh? Don't get addicted.
Cyphron laughs loudly at her joke. Raylan's senses are still alert, and he hears Cyphron's grunting as she drags him to the tripod. He feels her arms around his shoulders as she props him up on the seat, and he feels the sharp pain as Cyphron carelessly cuts open the hand ties. Raylan tries to move his head, but he can only look straight ahead onto the TV screen and the camera beside it. Cyphron comes into his field of view as she folds Raylan's arms in front of his chest. Pulling his jaw down, she snickers.
Come now. Why the long face?
Hot air dries up Raylan's tongue, but he cannot even move his eyes to look at Cyphron.
Let's make you presentable, shall we?
Cyphron wipes dust and sweat off Raylan's face. Then, she uses her fingers to form deep furrows between his eyebrows. She closes Raylan's mouth again, forming a frown on the corners of his lips with her thumbs. Satisfied that all muscles stay in place, Cyphron steps back and looks at her work critically.
May,
She says, not really convinced of her work.
didn't have much to work with, but it'll do.
She snidely remarks. She walks behind the TV screen to adjust the camera angle. Looking at Raylan, she nods in anticipation, and a cold shiver of excitement runs down her back.
Perfect. This will be the final step of a flawless plan.
Walking back to Raylan, she clasps her hands as if thanking him for his help.
And you're the one who made it all possible.
She says.
Think about it before you're squashed into a mush of particles.
Cyphrin feels that Raylan can hear every word, but there is not a hint of response on his face or in his eyes. She snaps her fingers rapidly in front of Raylan's face and knocks her knuckles on his forehead.
Hello?
She shouts.
Anybody home?
She had not anticipated that the poison would also dampen her joy over tormenting Raylan, and, like throwing away a broken toy, Cyphrin shrugs her shoulders to turn on the TV.
Let's see how the ceremony goes. In about...
She pauses to read the time off her arm clip. Clasping her wrist nervously, she stares at the deactivated arm clip on the ground. Shaking her head, Cyphrin gathers herself and turns on the TV screen.
No matter.
She says.
You'll see when the global live feed will be hacked, courtesy of Winslow Security.
Cyphrin bows playfully to Raylan, who stares straight ahead.
And you'll be live worldwide.
She exclaims. Explaining her choreography, she says,
I'll be waiting for your dad's cue. Set the gas free, or something like that. He'll know what to say.
She pauses before giving Raylan a vicious smile.
You know, a little improv can spice things up.
She snickers.
And your dad and I have developed a real good chemistry lately.
Raylan is not really listening to Cyphrin's words. With his body under the control of the venom, his mind floats freely. He feels his parched lips, his crossed arms over his heaving chest. His eyes receive the on-screen images of flags and grandstands, of ceremonial handshakes between warring states. Yet none of it reaches his mind. Caught in his motionless world, Raylan senses a vast expanse around him, untouched by their disappearance. He senses his hopes and fears dissipate into the void. Hate and love hold out a little longer, and Raylan feels sad as those emotions drift away, before sadness, too, dissolves into nothingness. Freed of all that grounds him in life, his mind reaches out to memories and connects them, forming mental images of his past. Laughing bubbles of Evren and Arya pass into emptiness. The jagged spheres of his friends, frightened and tense, fade away as his father's essence drifts by. Raylan senses the chains his father carries along with him, including the shame over his wayward son.
This too shall pass, Dad.
Raylan sends this thought into the void. Even the end of the world seems only a passing glimpse to Raylan. Time will find its way.
Is this it? Do I really have to lose myself to understand?
With endless time on his hands, Raylan muses if this is a deal he wants to take. As if to compare reality with his own free world, he opens his mind to let reality back in for one last check. Muffled words sound in his ears as the TV screen shows another honored world leader at the God's ceremony giving her speech on a podium. 7 chairs form a wide arc around the podium, occupied by the leaders of the 5 nations that built the gods and the Amma hierarch of the Trinity Church. One chair is empty. Only the lifelike hologram of a crow flickers over the chair of Raylan Winslow, Sr. At the bottom of the TV screen, a clock is running backwards, 22:23, 22:21.
Time. What a strange concept.
Raylan muses while following the seconds tick away. Glancing at his father's image, Raylan is surprised that no one is appalled by the vile haze oozing from his hologram. His father claps his hands slowly as the speaker finishes, and Raylan notices that the back of the hologram is a hospital bed. The speaker motions respectfully to his father's image, and a part of the screen zooms in on Crow Raylan Winslow Sr.
It's perfect.
Cyphrin whispers.
Look at the makeup.
She says.
Isn't that the embodiment of a sick and worried father?
Of course, Cyphrin expects no reply from Raylan, but she has to let someone know how brilliant she is. Winslow's raspy, halting voice sounds through the cave.
It is with a heavy heart that I have to say, I'm deeply sorry that I cannot be there with you today.
Cyphrin whispers the words of Winslow's speech along. They have rehearsed his lines many times.
I have caught the Helios fever, and therefore I dare not spread the disease any further.
Cyphrin beams at Winslow's line.
That's all me.
She exclaims lively.
Get it?
She asks Raylan.
Helios fever from Marinth? Immigrants? Gods, I'm so good.
Cyphrin bathes in her own glory over the idea of connecting the disease with the rising number of immigrants from the southern continent. While Cyphrin intently follows Winslow's speech, Raylan contemplates Cyphrin's hate toward him and her absolute desire for power. Both are acceptable, but the collateral damage is not. Raylan's mind invokes images of Arya's frightened stare, of Siren's pain-contorted face, and of Priz's bloodied forehead.
There's too much to overlook.
He concludes, sensing a groundswell of emotions in the far distance. His fight is not over.
But only in this world.
A serene thought whispers inside, beckoning him to return. The clock on the TV screen shows 18:07.
Okay, my boy. Get ready for your big scene.
She grins and knocks his head with her knuckles.
Knock on wood.
Humming a happy tune, she walks behind the camera to activate it.
Oh, snap. Almost forgot.
She rushes back to the explosives box and puts the detonator clock in view of the camera. It reads 17:12.
So everybody can see that your father saved the world in the nick of time.
Her insane giggle echoes through the cave as she returns behind the camera. On screen, fanfares announce an artistic sculpture of the globe that rises on the main stage. The globe is shielded by 7 leaves. 7 ceremonial levers are set into a pedestal. Each releases one part of the globe into the future. Cyphrin impatiently watches the time run down, like a young Len waiting for Trinity Day presents. At 15:05, she whispers.
Showtime.
Cyphrin starts the audio effects. Suddenly, automatic rifle fire echoes through the cave, and muffled shouts and explosions turn the cave into a war zone. Instinctively, Raylan flinches inside before realizing that there is no real gunfire. Cyphrin silently lifts her thumbs up as the TV screen flickers and grays out. Moments later, it flickers again and shows 2 halves of a screen. On the left, world leaders at the God ceremony look in surprise at the Jumbotron screens. On the top right, a bearded crow with the Ecos banner behind him nervously holds a sheet of paper with both hands. On the bottom right, Raylan's figure stands next to a large box, arms crossed.
We, the Ecos warriors of the world, will put an end to the, in dust, real Molopony monopoly. That destroys our planet.
Cyphrin cringes at the reading skills of the crow and throws her hands helplessly up in the air.
We will destroy this power plant as a sign. As a sign against the corrupt industrial class that enslaves.
The muted voice of the TV moderator floats over the crow's voice and ongoing gunfire sounds.
Dear viewers, I'm as shocked as you are over the current developments. Apparently, Ecos terrorists have hijacked the God's geothermal power plant and want to destroy it. I'm told that ATC Special Forces are on the ground, fighting the terrorist threat as we speak.
Stop this madness.
The booming voice of Winslow Sr. interrupts the speech of the Ecos terrorist.
Raylan, my boy.
He calls out, his voice suddenly friendly and beckoning. His hand weakly rises from his bed. The voice of his father reminds Raylan of an irritating imbalance in his own self. It feels like a dissonant note in a soothing melody. He feels drawn to the discord like a curious child, fretting the disturbance, but intrigued by its falseness.
Don't do this, Raylan.
His father pleads.
I beg you.
Coughing, he sinks back into his bed.
Oh, baby, you are so good.
Cyphrin whispers with satisfaction. She adds another audio effect and cries of falling bodies sound through the cave. Across the globe, billions of shocked viewers are glued to their TV screens, transcending religion, political stance, or origin. The world holds its breath as one.
Is this really what you want?
Winslow asks with a raspy voice.
The destruction of the world.
Winslow's voice pauses amid the ongoing gunfire noises. Recorded orders ring through the cave.
ATC, drop your weapons.
Followed by more gunfire.
It's over.
His father's voice sounds through the cave.
Give yourself up. Come home.
Raylan feels the energy of the real world flow through him as he makes his decision. Only in this world he can gain balance again. Breathing deeply, he awaits the return of love, hate, and all the meaningless emotions that are part of this world. Raylan's chest heaves as the venom slowly takes hold of his lungs. A sense of fear jolts through his serene mind. Fighting for control, he forces his chest to breathe in deeply. It is the only thing he can do. Sharp hot pain cuts into his lungs as he greedily inhales the dry, dusty air. The pain sends shockwaves through his body and his heart starts to beat rapidly. One of Raylan's arm muscles twitches involuntarily. The flickering hologram of his father fills the left side of the TV screen. Raylan feels only sadness for the father he once despised. Still, the sorrow he feels for Winslow the father must find balance with his anger toward Winslow the person. His heavy breathing has brought Raylan close to fainting. His view blurs and his father's words sound far away.
Very well, son.
His father says.
You have made your choice. Therefore, I have to make mine.
His father sits upright and nods gravely. Meanwhile, Cyphron steps out from behind the camera and draws her weapon, waiting for her cue. Aiming her gun at Raylan with one hand, she holds a gas cartridge in the other. In his haze, Raylan feels his leg muscle twitch. His distant stare at the TV screen grows lively. Blood rushes through his cheeks. Each breath takes him closer to unconsciousness, but each breath multiplies his anger. Raylan Winslow Sr. ends his theatric pause and covers his eyes shortly. Looking into the camera, he tells the world with tears in his eyes,
Release the gas. Kill my son.
The detonator reads, 0911. Where's the cavalry?
Just give us a minute, okay?